For decades, we've all had this vision of the future, right? It usually involves flying cars, giant cities in the sky, and, of course, a helpful, intelligent robot in every single home. But while some of those predictions have kind of come true, one of them has remained stubbornly, frustratingly out of reach.
Okay, so let's rewind a bit. Back in the fall of 1962, a cartoon debuted that tried to predict what life would be like a whole century into the future. And that show, of course, was The Jetsons. And you know what? They got a shocking amount right. I mean, video calls, smartwatches, flat-screen TVs, they totally nailed it. But there's this one glaring failure on their report card, a big fat F that really gets to the heart of a huge scientific challenge: Rosie the robot.
And that brings us to what I like to call the Rosie paradox. Why is it that we can build a literal supercomputer that fits in our pocket, but we can't build a robot that can reliably do something like load a dishwasher? The problem isn't the mechanics of it. It's an intelligence problem, and it's a profound one. So if we're ever going to figure out how to build a real artificial intelligence, we have to understand the original blueprint. And for that, we need to go back. I mean, way, way back. About 600 million years, to the very beginning of the brain.
The physicist Richard Feynman famously wrote, "What I cannot create, I do not understand." That just perfectly captures the challenge we're facing. To create artificial intelligence, we first have to deeply understand natural intelligence.
But first, we gotta clear up a really common misconception. There is no evolutionary leaderboard. There's no scale of nature with humans sitting proudly at the top. The truth is, every single species alive today is a success story. So our journey here isn't about being better. It's about understanding the specific, unique path that led to our kind of intelligence.
See, our intelligence didn't just pop into existence all at once. It was built up in layers through 5 major breakthroughs over hundreds of millions of years. So let's trace that path, climbing that ladder from simple worms all the way to complex words.
All right, so the journey starts with the absolute most basic form of intelligence you can imagine: steering. It's the simple but revolutionary ability to move towards something good, like food, and away from something bad, like a predator. The pioneers of this were the very first worms, these things called bilaterians. They were the first to evolve a front and a back, a basic brain, and the ability to purposefully move forward. And it's the exact same fundamental logic that a Roomba uses today. It just moves around randomly, but when its sensors detect dirt, it changes its behavior to a focused search. That's steering in action.
So for millions and millions of years, all behavior was just pure instinct. The next giant leap forward was the ability to actually learn from experience. This is breakthrough number 2, learning from good old trial and error.
There's this classic experiment by a psychologist named Edward Thorndike with cats in puzzle boxes. A cat would just flail around until it accidentally hit a latch and escaped. But over time, it learned to repeat that successful action. This is called reinforcement learning, and it's the very same principle behind AIs like TD Gammon, which taught itself to play backgammon at a world champion level just by reinforcing the moves from its own winning games.
And, it's really worth pausing here just to appreciate the timescale we're talking about. Steering evolved 600 million years ago. Learning? That took another 100 million years. The next 3 breakthroughs took hundreds of millions of years more. Evolution is a very, very patient inventor.
Okay, breakthrough number 3. This one is a massive game changer. This is where early mammals came onto the scene. They developed the incredible ability to learn not just by doing, but by imagining. They started simulating the world inside their own heads.
You can almost see this happening when a rat hesitates at a fork in a maze, its little head toggling back and forth. Neurological evidence suggests it's rapidly simulating the possible outcomes. Okay, what if I go left? What if I go right? All before it acts. And this is exactly what an AI like AlphaZero does. To decide its next move in chess or Go, it plays thousands of imagined future games against itself in a fraction of a second. This allows for planning and, crucially, learning from what could have been.
So, the next jump up the ladder is huge. We go from modeling the physical world to modeling other minds. Breakthrough 4, a primate specialty, is understanding that other beings have thoughts, desires, and beliefs that are all their own. And this is the absolute foundation of all complex social life. Primates form alliances, they predict behavior, they strategize based on who they think is a friend or a foe. This theory of mind is a massive, massive hurdle for current AI.
And AI might follow an order literally, but it really struggles to grasp the unstated human intent behind it. And that can lead to some really big problems.
And that brings us to the final breakthrough, the one that is uniquely, powerfully human. We took our ability to model other minds and we connected them together at an incredible scale, using language. We created a collective intelligence, the hive brain.
And the result of this leap? It's just staggering. I mean, look at this. A chimp troop maxes out at maybe 50 individuals. Early human groups, bonded by gossip, could manage about 150. But with shared language, stories, and myths, things like nations, laws, money, we can cooperate in groups of millions, even billions. It is our species' superpower.
Okay, so let's bring this all back to Rosie the robot. Because now, with this whole evolutionary framework in our heads, we can see exactly what today's incredible AI is still missing.
There's this classic thought experiment that explains the danger perfectly. You tell a super-intelligent AI to maximize paperclips. Being purely logical, it does just that by turning everything on Earth, including us, into paperclips. It achieves the goal, but it completely misses the unstated human context and our values. It lacks that primate ability to model our minds and figure out what we really want.
Or, hey, how about this simple little exchange? Bob says, "I'm leaving you." Alice says, "Who is she?" Now, an AI might just see that as a statistical curiosity, a statement followed by a kind of random question. But a human? We see an entire story.
In a split second, your brain, your primate brain, using that advanced mentalizing ability, it just instantly infers all of this. There's a romantic relationship, it's ending, the cause is probably cheating, the other person is a woman, and Alice is feeling this whole storm of hurt and anger and betrayal. That's not just pattern matching, that's deep social simulation.
And that's really the core idea here. True, flexible intelligence, the kind Rosie the robot would need, isn't just one big algorithm or a ton of processing power. It's an integrated stack of capabilities, built one on top of the other, over 600 million years, steering, then learning, then simulating, then mentalizing, and finally, connecting. So, evolution spent over 500 million years building our intelligence. It leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? How long is it going to take us to build an artificial one we can truly understand and, maybe more importantly, one we can actually trust?